Hi, I'm Orbit Deen, and this is my podcast, Discovering Beauty with Orbit Deen. I am a filmmaker and a writer living in Los Angeles, and I also have cerebral palsy, and I'm a wheelchair user. You can continue the conversation after the podcast with us on my Orbit Deen Substack.
Everywhere, everywhere. You are special and I love you everywhere. You are special everywhere. You know it's true.
Hey everyone, welcome again to another episode of Discovering Beauty with Orbit Deen and my very special partner in crime, Mr. Cookie Jar, ladies and gentlemen.
That's me.
How are you, Cookie? How are you, Cookie?
I'm good. A beautiful day. It's a totally different day. Totally
Totally different day, but a beautiful day.
Same clothes. I'm in the same place,
Pay
but same air freshener.
no attention to that man behind the curtain. Just enjoy the magic that is us.
Magical, yes.
Yes.
Having a magic day, Orbit Deen. How are you?
Yeah, I'm feeling rather beautiful today.
Air, huh?
Yes. I'm so happy when we could be together, and I'm so happy that we're doing this podcast. And because you and I have planned this for a long time, and we obviously have a close relationship with each other, and now we're sharing it with the world. And I'm super excited. And before we get into, I want to tell the people like what this podcast is going to be about, and what that's going to be about is like, yes, our personal stories and all that, but like main thing for me is like being creative and building a creative community and like just having fun and discovering happiness and beauty through creativity. And we're going to kind of break down our creative projects together for the audience. But before we do that, because we're going to do that in this episode, but before we do that, I did want to talk about your signature project, Mr. Cookie Jar.
Yes.
And that is the Love Bubble. Do you want to talk about the Love Bubble?
The love bubble. Yes, thank you. Well, the love bubble was kind of like it was the first song I wrote as Mista Cookie Jar. And I used to work at a hospital after grad school. I worked at a hospital in Santa Monica, and I would deliver cookies and coffees to the patients. And there was one resident who I met, and I ended up like basically marrying her daughter, right? This was Grandma Cookie Jar. But I ended up marrying her daughter and raising a family. But we became very close, Grandma, and she came up with this. She I used to sing songs to the residents there, and she always enjoyed the songs, and she came up with this idea. You should write a song and call it the Love Bubble. And it was basically, the idea was an imaginary force field built on love that, the more love you give it, the bigger it gets, the stronger it gets. And it was a way to kind of protect her grandkids, as they were growing up, for her to kind of be there and sort of like build a world of love for them. That was the idea of Love Bubble. So I wrote the song, and it was it's my favorite song to date, that I've ever written, and it's the most important song, and it's kind of the center of everything I do as Mista Cookie Jar.
Yeah,
and it's all about love.
It's kind of like Michael Jackson has Man in the Mirror, and you have Love Bubble. That's like your kind of that's your Man in the Mirror.
Right, that's right. I would say that. It's it's my theme, and every song I write is kind of an extension of it.
Right.
So.
And that's a good job, because you did that before we started podcasting together. And I remember when you told me about the song, you and Mrs. Cookie Jar told me about the song. And then that's kind of been the theme of us work. Like, it's a good theme for life, I think, just to surround yourself with people who love you and will protect you and let you be who you are. That's my interpretation of your love bubble. Is like, because for me, especially nowadays, like with everybody really just being upset with each other, uh, really, like it's for me, and I've talked to the audience about this, but like for me, it's been like I thought I was having all this success when you and I were doing our separate things, and you were doing music and I was doing film stuff, and I was teaching and working with kids with disabilities. I was thought I was having all this success, and it took some pretty amazing twists and turns in my life to think like to say like, oh, I thought I was successful, but I haven't really dealt with who how I feel about myself yet, and I'm gonna try to surround myself with positivity and with love, and radiate that out, because I talked about in past episodes like really wanting to just connect with people, make that connection, and have something in common. And ever since I was a kid, I had wanted to do that. Like, let me tell you a story about myself. Let me tell you how my life is. And then like it's been so hard to do that, dude. It's been so hard because so many people are just so used to being negative, I think. And then so when I heard about the love bubble idea, it was like, well, this is extraordinary, because like this is the way it should be. We should all surround ourselves with like just an outpouring of love, because we have these great things in common with each other, right? And but it's so much easier to be angry with people now. And I think we need the love bubble these days, you know?
Oh yeah, it definitely has helped me in my life. When you're young and when I was in my early 20s, I was just I had a lot of anger. I still do, right? But there's something about going back to the basics, which is just kind of you know being good to each other. It's a simple idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I've had a lot of anger too in my life, and you and I have talked about this in our relationship, and as creative people. But I think it's important to say, and I said this the last time that we recorded something together, like the amazing thing about you and is I think that like you live love bubble. That's like you're the least angry you just talked about having anger, but you're actually the least angry person that I think I've ever been around as a human being. And so you embody the love bubble. You do. Like you don't so
I try. I try. I guess it's not a novel concept to be, love thy neighbor. All you're saying is give peace a chance, bruh. All you
Well,
need.
maybe nowadays it is. Maybe nowadays we need more of
Yeah,
that. 'Cause
yeah.
and I think that we can say that about this podcast, because, uh, the intro music is something that you and I did together, and the whole idea of celebrating beauty is something that you and I did together. But that was an outgrowth of the love bubble, ultimately. And I think that the wonderful thing about this podcast and the fact that we get to do this together is that this can be a safe place where people can come and just discover themselves, and like you know and there's going to be no criticism, no anger, no. I mean, they might be angry about things that happen to people in their lives. I mean, there's injustices in the world, but you're not going to be criticized here. This is a place of celebrating beauty and discovering yourself, and that's something that you did for me as a person. Like I think, if I can be personal for a second again, I think that like you helped me, and I would like to think that we helped each other like discover when we were in graduate school, like what are we doing? And we used to hang out together every day and be like, I wonder what we're doing with our creative projects, and like as a person. And I just want to mention, as a jumping off point to the last conversation, I forgot to mention that you and I, when we were finishing our creative projects for graduate school, one of my favorite things that we used to do is like just drive around LA and be like, well, where do you want to hang out today? And like, it was always like a journey of discovery. Like we would go to the museums, we would go to like a show, we would go to like a restaurant, and that helped me to figure out the stuff that I was dealing with, and that is totally low bubble, man.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. It's definitely mutual. We have we're continuing it.
Well,
But
this is what the podcast is. Like we're giving Love Bubble to the world, right?
that's right. That's right. Us
Yeah.
just kind of, you know, talking.
Yeah.
What are your
Yeah, man.
favorite MCs? Top three. That.
That's a good question.
What are your
That's a
favorite rom-coms from the 90s? That's the kind of stuff we would talk about. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then we would get into these heated discussions like that wasn't any good. Those are the days, man. Those are the days.
I have anger. Stevie likes that.
We won't talk about specific people because they might be on the podcast one day. I don't want to say like, oh, we used to like you.
Wasn't a fan of your stuff. Put me on.
But let me jump ahead and talk about. We talked about it a little bit the last time we were together, but the day that you came to me and said, "Do you want to write a song together?" was an interesting day because I didn't know at the time that it was going to change my life. And let's talk about that because on every episode that we do together, we're going to talk about a creative project. So we might as well talk about where it started. And the day it started. And I can as a starting point, I can tell you that that I was really struggling at that point in my life because I was dealing with like the effects of my disability, and we had finished the podcast, and we were getting some kind of negative feedback about it, and we were like, oh, we kind of poured our heart into that, into that podcast project, and not everybody loves it, and I was kind of bummed out about that. And then we had a death in the family of in my family of somebody that I was really close to, and my first friend who was actually my aunt, my mother's sister, but she was also like my first best friend when I was a little kid, and we were just bonded and we would hang out together. And she had passed because this was during COVID time, and or a little past that. I remember that you had said to me, "Do you want to write a song together?" I think that would be cool, and I was very skeptical. I was like, "Yeah, I'll try." I mean, and I remember that I wrote some stuff because you were like just write something and then we'll see. And I wrote something because I was in a bad place. I don't know if you remember this, but I'm gonna laugh. This makes me laugh now because I was kind of in a bad spot. And I just remember writing about like darkness, the darkness and the thing. And I remember sending it to you, and you were like, Michael, this is like songs for kids. Can we not talk about the darkness and the depression?" And I remember like when I first sent like my first collection of lyrics, it was like floating in darkness and you're like, let's not try to have that.
Well, yeah, it's about channeling all that. Keep that energy. Keep the energy. But
So the day that we actually sat down to write, I was struggling with all this stuff, and we should tell the people that like you had already had like tremendous success at this point. I mean, let's tell the people. I mean,
okay.
you had already had tremendous success with Cookie Jar, and were you nominated for a Grammy already at this point, or?
Oh
Or
gosh.
I think you were. I think you had already had your first nomination. Is that correct?
I was on an album that ended up winning. I produced for a Grammy winning record. When was that? Did we already write our song by then?
I want to say this was a year after COVID because my aunt passed because of COVID. And I remember that we wrote the song that we're going to talk about today on her actual birthday. But I think that you had already won your Grammy because I was really intimidated. Can I tell you? I was really like, I can't write with him. Oh my God. He's like a Grammy winning artist. Like it's one thing to hang out and talk and talk about creativity, but like I have to bring my A game. And then I was talking about darkness and all these things. And I'm pretty sure that you had won the Grammy at that point because I was thinking about
Well, can I talk about that for a second?
Yeah, yeah, please,
I
please.
have here because it just came in the mail, and I'm super.
Ah,
I got this certificate here from the Recording Academy,
beautiful, beautiful.
and it's with this band, the Alphabet Rockers, who they're amazing, and it's their album
Yes.
Movement. I produced a song called "The Word Is Love," kind of inspired by something Stevie Wonder said. When
Yeah, okay.
it's on, The word is love. He just said, I think it was some podcast, kind of wrote it down, and I was like, I kept inserting it in some of my songs, like as a lyric, and I just sort of kind of came up with the hook and the beat, and I sent it to these guys. And the next thing you know, they won a Grammy, and I'm like, whoa! And this just came in the mail. This was years ago. I don't know why this.
That is beautiful, man. That is
thank,
beautiful.
thank you.
I've never seen that before. This is news.
Yeah, I'm sorry about
That-
it.
that's beautiful.
But yeah, so I mean, with us in our song, I just knew we had a rapport, and I mean, we're like homies, come on
Yes.
now. Uh,
Yes.
and I just had a feeling, we're gonna make something awesome. We have just like a shorthand when it comes to talking about stuff we love. And I've, over the years since grad school, I've just become pretty quick with like producing and stuff. So this was kind of what it this is what it was like, guys, for the folks at home, when me and Orbit Deen worked together. It's kind of like, I just kind of, hey, what do you think about this? And Michael's like, I'm like, what about it? What if it goes? And then he's like, what if it goes like this? And I'm like, this, and then he's like, yeah, and we just build from there, and we do it over Zoom like this, or usually just the phone, and like he kind of just listens over the speaker, and I keep it on loop, and he just tells me this way, that way, and then we have the beat like to this song, this first song, we just kind of came up with the vibe, right? And
Yeah. So let me talk about that day because what you don't know is that I was already kind of feeling like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to do this, and I'm in the darkness, and then it was my aunt had passed away, and it was her birthday, and she actually came to me in a dream. I'm not gonna. This is unusual, so I don't usually talk like this, but she came to me in a dream, and she's like, you should write a song about me. And then I remember that I told you that because I was like, it's my aunt's birthday today, and I really want to write a birthday song for her. And then I told you that, and you're like, okay, let's do it. And then within 15 to 20 minutes, we had the hook. And that came to us pretty quickly. And we're talking about the song Magic Day. Magic Day it was our first creative endeavor together. And then I remember you saying to me, like, what would a magic day be for you? And then we talked about that. And I said, you talked about like what a magic day would be for you. And then I talked about my aunt and it being her birthday. And I really wanted to write a celebration song for her. And then we came up with like a really amazing hook,
yes,
guitar wise. And then it just grew from there. And then I think we had it, the bare bones of it, like in 20 minutes. I want to say. I mean, obviously there's tremendous work that went into this. Like this was like, the Beatles' White Album level of like intricacy. Like we did a lot of layering and like moving this sound and that sound. Like we worked on this for, I feel like, weeks, just like, what about this? But in terms of, and then like, if you want to go deeper on this, then you can join our Substack. We're going to have a Substack where we're going to go deeply into the songs. If you want to nerd out with us on that,
yeah,
then stay tuned for our Substack.
podcast. But now we say save it for the Substack.
Yeah, yeah. But just I remember like that hook came to us and it was like the great thing that we have in common, and the great thing that most people don't have is that like we have a great creative relationship and a great affection for each other, and like uh, I always feel like when I come up with an idea, like, oh, I have to get it. I have to get it past Cookie. Like, it has to be good because I have to present it to him, and then like vice versa. And then, but I just remember that day. It was, I mean, no pun intended, but it was magical. It was magical. And I think within 20 minutes we had it, and we played it for Mrs. Cookie Jar. I remember, and she was like, "That's good," and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, it was pretty magical. We caught the vibe quickly.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah,
that happens, I think.
yeah. And can we tell the people what happened? Can we tell the people that uh, it was your first number one song?
That's right. That's right.
And I'm very proud of that.
So we have I have a lot of songs that are spun on this station, Kids Place Live. It used to be called Kids Place Live. Now it's called Kids Place, Sirius XM, and they loved it, and it got to number one, and that was the first song that was like a Mista Cookie Jar song that was number one. So I was pretty stoked. We were both pretty stoked, and it was out for a while before they even spun it. So
Yeah,
like a
I think we had finished it, and it like took a good 6 months for something to happen with it. Because I remember being like, I forget when we finished it, but it was around the holiday time. Because I remember you saying to me like, "Do you remember Magic Day? Like, I think something's gonna happen with that." And I was like, "Really?" Because I had like kind of lost hope. Because whenever you're creative about something, you just put it out to the world, and like it just might like resonate with people, or it might resonate with like two people, or it just might just like die. So that's the thing about being creative, right? It's like you put your heart and soul out there, and it's like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen to this little child that I just made. And then sometimes nothing happens. So more often than not, you have to give up. So I had given up on Magic Day. I was like, oh, that was really fun doing that. And then I remember you coming in and being like, actually, people really like that. And I was like shocked. You know?
It ended up on a Spotify playlist. It's my number one Mr. Cookie Jar song in terms of spins on Spotify. So
Yes.
we're almost at 300,000.
Yeah, that's pretty. I think this is a good question that I want to ask you since we're here and then on this topic. Like, what is your feeling about the whole process of like you put your heart and soul into something and then you put it out there into the world, and like sometimes people might dig it and sometimes like it's really taking a chance. And how do you feel about that and how do you deal with that?
Well, of course there's expectations, and it depends how much expectations you have. But I guess over the years, I guess you have tough skin, and as long as I love the song or whatever it is, I'm happy with it. And I've kind of let go of any expectations. You just you create it for the song, and you know that if it can connect with some people like strongly, sometimes that's better than a bunch of people not so strongly. So there's a lot of songs that I have a lot of that I feel very strongly about that not many people like know, and it's out there, or some stuff isn't even out there,
Right, right.
I just you just keep going, and it can be hard. It was harder when I was younger.
Yeah, okay,
Now that
okay.
I'm older, I'm kind of like, I I feel more secure about stuff. um
Right, right.
yeah, every time everything has its time and place, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I respect that, and I respect whatever the mystic order of things are. You
Hey,
know,
can I ask you a question? So a
Pod-
thing that I think is cool is the way that we work together. But I never really asked you this, amazingly. So I might as well do this on the podcast. What is your create like when you're by yourself, when you're not collaborating with me or somebody else? Like what is your individual creative process like? Like when do you get an idea for something, and then how does it germinate?
it's 90% of the time when I'm in the shower. No, I'm just kidding. I'm that guy who's got my phone with me all the time, and I'm like mumbling something in the voice memo, or a lot
Uh,
of times it comes in a dream. And sometimes I have a whole song, like a whole melody, a whole like everything, and then I wake up and I'm just like scribbling something down or like humming to my phone. It could come out of nowhere. Sometimes it's the lyric first. Sometimes I sit with something for years. Sometimes it's like this. I guess now that I'm a better crafts person, like I could produce better, I could play guitar better, I could sing better. It could come from that like quicker.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
a lot of, because back in the day I used to have to, figure out the chords and figure out how to play it and all this stuff. But I think back in the day I was more like vision driven. I mean, I'm still pretty vision driven now. Like a lot of it's the thrill of like the chase of like, oh, I want to learn how to play that. I can write stuff that I don't know how to play. So sometimes it's kind of the idea of like, oh, this would be so cool to perform. Like, how do I do it? You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I guess it's just different. You know, everything's different. Did I answer the question, Orbit Dean?
You did answer the question quite well. I remember I wanted to say this as a to bring it back to Magic Day. I felt a lot of pride for both of us. First of all, when it became number one, like I was astonished, and I was like, "Hey, this is going to work out pretty well." I also really enjoy working together, which is unique. But I also like felt a lot of pride the first time that you performed it live, also. So that was
Yeah,
pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Um, One of the things that we're gonna do, which is why you want to pop over to our Substack as soon enough as we're doing it. Is that we want to get people involved in our projects so that hopefully there's going to be all kinds of things inspired by the work that we've done, like music videos, maybe comic books. You know, there are things that we want to do with Magic Day and and stuff like that. So when we want to involve a community, so stay tuned for that and pop over to our Substack when it's up and talk to us some more. And we want to hear from you. So
you.
yes, thank you for being with us, and stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you, Cookie.
Thank you, Orbit Dean. This was fun. Always fun. Cue
Always.
the outro.
Everywhere, everywhere. You are special and I love you everywhere.